Okay. Oh, I need to record. Oh, I guess it's automatically recording. Oh, lovely. Okay, so we're starting the meeting. Has anyone had a chance to, no, did anyone have any input on the last meeting's minutes? Or addendums, corrections?
Just a minor one, Josh.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think Patel's name is spelled P-A-T-E-L. That's under the updates from the planning department, the last bullet.
Okay, thank you.
And Cernak, help me, C-E-R-N-A, Cernak, C-E-R-N-A-K, I believe.
That's right.
Okay. I will correct that too. Oh yeah, no C, okay. Okay, with those two corrections, do we have a motion to approve?
I would so move.
Okay, second. All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye, okay. So it's approved. Okay, so, agenda. We can't really review the housing product production plan or wayfinding project or planning department without Jeff. Actually, a lot of this all kind of depends on Jeff.
Motion to adjourn.
Let me send a quick email to Jeff, see if he's joining.
Chris and I were at that meeting with the Housing Partnership Group where they presented it. I'm not sure. I have my notes handy. I don't know if Chris, if you have any thoughts about that housing production. I mean, it's coming along.
Yeah, I did take notes. I don't know where I put them though. Let me see if I could find them.
Yeah, you and me both.
So, I mean, I guess I can go from memory because I don't think I'm going to be able to find them in a timely manner. Here's the camera. It was more of what we saw when we got the presentation. There wasn't much variation from that or anything new that I really remember. You know, there were issues with our zoning being too complicated. There were a couple city councilors there that asked how they could go forward with that. And what she promised was that she would also give us a sample ADU zoning, which I think has been the reason of the holdup. There's been waiting for the housing production plan to come back and make sure that we've got all our ducks in a row. There was also talk about things that are blatant contradictions in our zoning and possibly illegal, but there wasn't any details on that said at that meeting, though. I forgot her name. Do you remember, Tom? Was it Mary? Doesn't matter, I guess. She said that she would...
Judy Barrett?
Judy, that's right. She said that she would get that to us too, or to the city. And the first phase was to get this report in, which I guess we all got from Jeff, a copy of the draft. And the next phase was to get something from the other firm. I guess that was their input on the master plan stuff. Do you remember what they were supposed to get from the other firm, Tom?
I don't, Chris. I do remember they are waiting for something from that firm. I don't know if it involves zoning or not, but I do know one of the next steps is for this to go to city council. And the good news is there were 44 city councilors on that meeting.
4, okay.
So I know a couple dropped off along the way, but at least there were 4 there initially that, you know, saw the presentation, heard the presentation. There were a couple things, Chris, they talked about we would ultimately potentially change to have these developments by right, like ADU would be by right. But wasn't there something about multifamilies potentially by right?
The 2-family by right, I think it was. And then that's right. Then there was also talk about getting our zoning lighten up, basically infill. Is right. the quick way, the Cliff's Notes version of it. You know, we have a lot of properties that could be developed, but our expansive zoning is preventing it, particularly on odd-shaped properties, I think she was saying.
The other thing that I'm sure everyone appreciates is every time there's a potentially new development, there tends to be an outcry primarily from the neighborhood. And we talked about how there's several potential roadblocks, if you will, not just the neighbors, but sometimes historical. There was a third one I don't quite remember. But obviously there could be multiple objections to a development just for the sake of objecting. Like I keep bringing up the Dunkin' Donuts development on East Street, and if it's zoned properly, if all the permitting is right, why are we still listening to neighbors that are complaining about it? With all due respect to the neighbors, you live in a place that's zoned business. You might imagine that the house next to you might be a business someday. And I think what Judy was getting at is the city sort of has to keep their eye on the ball, and that is if you really want housing development, you're going to have to get past that stuff to allow the housing development.
Yeah, that NIMBYism is really the worst form of reactionary governing. It's people get up in an uproar about things that could be happening anytime. And I had asked Judy at that meeting, it sounded naive. I was hoping she was going to give more than just the answer she did. I asked her, if she sees people who rise up against zoning changes that will cause things like infill. And she was like, yes. And that was all she gave me. And I was hoping she'd give some sort of solutions for how to combat that. Because, yeah, you're right. I mean, if they successfully for instance, they successfully blocked Stop and Shop, and now they're getting possibly a 50-foot tall building, and they're going to fight against that. And then what? It's just a roll of the dice. And after they fought Stop and Shop, I didn't see any of them coming to change the zoning to prevent, another Big Y, for instance, from going in.
Right.
It's just,
And I think the examples I used, Chris, on historical, if you look at Memorial Hall in the center of town, right on the Rotary there, historically, the Historical Commission ultimately was successful in getting restriction on that building that it couldn't be taken down. And there's a ton of land behind that building, beside that building. The D&D property next to it was up for sale. That could have been some really nice downtown housing. But because historical was successful in the requirement, it limited the audience that was interested in buying the building. Parsons Street School is the exact same thing. All that land behind Parsons Street School, a bit of it's parking, but then the rest of it is still city-owned land. For what? It's a hangout. It's a place they dump snow. The grass grows taller than me. So if that whole parcel had been allowed to be used and the building demolished, you might have gotten in 15 multifamily homes in there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And that actually, now that you're saying that, it reminds me that one of the other things Judy was recommending was it wasn't just 2 families by right, but there was a lot of other things by right that would encourage development from developers who don't have to jump through all the hoops. But I think that's going to come with her suggestions for the zoning.
Was affordable housing one of those things, Chris? Do you remember?
Affordable housing is a big part of it. It's a huge part of it.
Yeah, affordable housing did come up quite a bit, but I can't remember if it came up in that context. And I think that really all I remember from affordable housing coming up was that the regulations made it such that it wasn't cost effective to build it. But I could be cross-pollinating from other meetings, to be honest. It's hard to keep track of all the stuff sometimes.
And I know we sometimes don't see it when we live it, but I think her bottom line, that's the good thing about an outsider. I don't mean that with any disrespect, but an outsider taking a look at your policies, procedures, zoning, whatever. And our zoning and our special permit process actually acts as a roadblock for development.
Yeah.
And it was done with all, good intentions. As we added more, that's probably why we have 200 and something pages in our zoning regulations, because, well, let's add this and let's add this, and we never revamp the whole thing. And I think that's another process eventually that Jeff will work on. That'll take another grant and another outside consultant to just rehash our total zoning, make it more attractive for development.
Yeah, that's definitely a theme that she was running on, is that the special permit process was really brutal because there's no guarantees there, or you have to wait 3 months at the best to get moving. I think that Jeff was saying that he was getting changes to the change of use for downtown businesses. Is that correct, Mo? Do you know anything about that? Because I know that as it stands, if you want to change something to a kitchen, you got to go through the special permit process that takes 3 months. So that's 3 months of rent that you're just sitting on.
Well, that was actually approved. We had talked about that, and myself and Gwen had gone to that council meeting to support that on the EDIC's behalf, and they passed that.
Okay.
That I can't remember the title of it, and I can't remember, but it's
but it was within the past few months.
To allow businesses that if it's without too much of a change, can just go ahead and don't have to go through.
Yeah, that's good. We need a lot more of that, because that's, I wouldn't
Yeah,
pay.
it's over a month ago.
Rent. Even if I had the money to do it, I wouldn't do it on principle, So that's good. That's great. It's good to hear.
Can you expand a little bit on what that was, like businesses?
So if you wanted to open a bookstore in what used to be a small kitchen, like where Daily Op is, you would have to submit site plan changes to the special permitting to the board to get a special permit to change the use. And there was really no reason for that, but that process took, I think, about 3 months. So you would have to basically rent the place out for 3 months and wait, which is silly. But Mo is saying they fixed that, which is great.
Okay, good. Thank you.
By the way, quick point of order. I just heard back from Jeff. He will not be able to join. He's stuck on another meeting. So.
No problem.
Is there anything left on that topic?
No, I think that's the best Chris and I can do from memory.
Appreciate your input from you two. That was good, and we got something done. And I can't speak to any of the others. If anyone else can.
Nope.
Okay. Well, these are going to go on next month's agenda. Paul, you may have gotten off a little bit easy.
I know. I'm disappointed because I've really been enjoying this so far.
Okay, well, you can do it next month too.
Oh, did I say that?
So next month we've got, I put it as a December 15th. Is anyone okay with meeting in the middle of December?
Yes.
Sure,
Okay.
The commute is really bad, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate what you do for your city, Chris.
And you.
You do a better job at it than I do, though.
Jeff, just one quick thing, if I could throw it out on a new business. And I don't know if this will fall in Mo's lap or I'm not sure where, but I'm thinking about, what our businesses have gone through in town the last 9 months, and specifically the restaurants and everything, everything a lot of folks tried to do to help. But I believe it'll be next year when we start to blow up Union Street. And I believe that will be a 2 construction year project. So if a construction year is roughly April to November, it's going to be 2 of those where people are going to be avoiding Union Street like the plague.
Yeah.
So Jeff and I have had multiple conversations about this, and the chamber is, we've already talked about this, and this is probably going to come to fruition, is that the chamber will partner with them and act as another conduit to make sure that information is getting out to the community and to the businesses, and that construction scheduling, I'd be able to help with planning and those contractors that are involved to understand, like, oh, gee, you know what, that's maybe we need to work around this particular, whatever the thing is, because deliveries are entering the back or whatever. So we're coordinating that.
I mean, it's my understanding that the road is never going to close. There'll always be at least one lane open, but we might be traveling on dirt for a few months.
Well,
Yep.
what we've been traveling on the last few years is not that much worse. Or much
Right.
better.
And there's, you know what,
It
it's
might
gonna,
be better.
there will be pain involved with the process because it just needs to get done, right? But
Yeah.
hopefully, between the partnership, we'll be able to communicate as much as possible so that we can help, lessen anxiety, and we can help keep people informed, and we can inform the city and the contractors as to what needs may or may not arise. So that we're hoping that we can help in that.
I guess the irony, Mo, is, with fingers and toes crossed, we could be, just coming out of COVID restrictions when we start to blow up Union Street.
Well, we can't get ahead of ourselves, right? So let's not panic. Let's not panic about something yet.
Yeah.
And let's all
Arrived.
knock on wood, huh?
Yeah.
But yes, things to consider.
Well, thank you for bringing that up, Tom. Okay. Anyone else have anything?
Yeah, I've got something. Casey and I had talked about possibly doing a coordination between the EDIC, the Parks Commission, and the arts community for, like, I think we mentioned this on a Zoom call a couple months ago, about doing a series of events in the spring that would be like a plan for a best case scenario, possibly including a taste of Easthampton, including maybe a arts showcase in the park, and kind of promoting that together with some of the other park events that we normally do as well. And I don't really know what kind of collaboration this could be, whether or not we would form maybe an unofficial little committee amongst ourselves to try and to do that. But I think it's very interesting. I think that if we can do something to help, like you said, this has been a tough year. It's going to be a tough winter for a lot of these businesses. Union Street makeover is not going to make it better. So if there's some way that we can work with, pull all of these different factions in to do something good for at least the businesses and the community, then we should.
Yeah, definitely. Just one quick thought on that, Paul. I mean, I know a lot of the taste of the various towns or cities around us eventually died out, and a lot of the restaurant owners that I knew had said it really was, I mean, while they did very well, it really became cumbersome to pick up their operation and bring it somewhere while they were still trying to run their business. And I wonder if something along the lines of what you're saying could happen, but happen right in the street. Not necessarily cultural chaos, but something like that on Union Street.
Yeah, I think that was the idea we floated. Yeah, exactly that.
I thought I heard you mention at the park. So if it can be
maybe doing like an art themed event, like an art show or arts, like another art in the park type event, but something in the spring.
Yep.
Just because obviously with COVID being a concern and we have these big, nice open spaces, that's,
exactly.
Yeah, that loop would be great, to set up basically a tremendous cultural chaos, only spread out a lot.
Yep. Yeah,
Well,
because
this is like what you and I were talking about in this, I think it was summertime, and potentially having people bring their food to a open space. I kind of like that idea of everybody picking up the meal they like and meeting.
Yeah.
But I'd love to work on this if this kind of event, if I can. I mean, if there's a place for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Cassie.
I would add one thing to new business too, if we're still doing that. I haven't really written anything down, but I've been thinking the past couple days about Does anybody know the logistics of prorating property tax for business owners that have been shut down? Because that might be the sort of thing that gives them a little bit of help. And even if the city had to bond out a little bit to cover that loss, if it was even a big loss, that might help them out a lot. A couple $1,000s is not nothing. So in other words, if a restaurant was shut down for 2 months, that's 1/6 of a year's property tax for someone like, I don't know, Nini's, for instance, if Nini's owns the building. I don't know. But then there's the logistics of what if they only rent. So anyway, just keep it in mind for the next month, and maybe someone will think of something.
Good idea. Okay, I'll add that to the next agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. You get that. Paul, for what you just raised about what you and Casey had talked about, I took informal notes about that. So if you don't have that to add since you were talking, that's okay. Go ahead and send me what you have, and I'll put it into the format that I've used.
Okay, great. Your format's beautiful, so thank you.
And then I'll send it out to the group. Okay. Anyone have anything else? Okay. Thank you all for your patience. Anyone want a motion to close?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to close.
Seconded. Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Thank you very much, everyone. Again, thank you for being patient with me while I figured things out.
No, thanks for doing it.
And Paul, thank you again for taking minutes. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank
Stay
you, guys.
safe, everyone.
Be well.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.